We are in Sardinia, Italy, and we met two guys that are witness of what the power of bintu bar chocolate could give to the farmers and to the European chocolate market. Vaicacao is a new brand that is growing in a few years, arriving to touch different markets and customers with the main targets of the quality, sustainability, and happiness that in an island like Sardinia is a must. Enjoy! Welcome at episode number 12 of this second series of Chocozone. We have known a lot of Americans that started with bintu bar movement. Then we know some people from the France, from Germany. In the last episodes, we have seen people from an island in Spain, and now, guys, it is time to go also in Italy, and we are again in another Iceland, Sardinia, a beautiful island, and here we are with Elisa and Juan Rafael. Ciao, how are you?
Hi.
Hola, ciao a tutti. It's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. Umberto and Giuseppe, thank you.
It's a pleasure, it's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Anyway, tell us about yourself, your story. Before to start with the chocolate, what did you do? So let us know something about you.
Okay, so I'm going to start first because Ellie asked me to start first, so we get rid of being nervous. So, okay, my name is Juanra. Well, Juan Rafael, but people call me Juanra. Before my experience with the chocolate world, I used to work in different segments, ranging from the beverage industry selling carbonated soda drinks for big multinational companies to moving forward other challenges where we sold raw materials representing producers from Europe and Asia to Central America. So I had lots of import-export expertise as well. And then I moved into different challenges, more entrepreneurial challenges, where we were creating a business from nothing in El Salvador and selling agricultural products to high-end segments in the beverage industry in the US. And on my spare time, I was always involved in my family's farm. First, we had coffee. Then my dad started to diversify into cacao. So he had the vision to create nursery and start building the basis to grow from there. And they created a co-op, which I later joined, which the incentive was to promote the production of fine flavor cacao in El Salvador. So that's what I was juggling different projects by then, and eventually met.
Elisa. And what about you, Elisa?
I'm Sardinian. I was born and grew up in Olbia. And well, I've been working 5 years, almost 5 years in San Salvador. And then, yeah, we've met there. And wow, it was like a love at first sight. The same when we went to the cacao plantation in Finca Cuyacuba. It was like love at first sight. So I was like, oh my God, we need to do something with this beautiful cacao farm, and we should do something actually, yeah, to bring this unique and beautiful cacao to Europe.
So you fell in love because of the cocoa?
Yeah.
Because of the cocoa bean or because of the chocolate?
Well, both. Yeah, but actually, yeah, it was love at first sight.
But
I really love El Salvador, and well, of course, Juan, it's the love of my life. So
Wow.
yeah,
No, I got lucky with
what
this.
a beautiful connection, Sardinia and El Salvador, right? Like a tropical things, Mediterranean things.
Yeah.
but when you started the chocolate business, how was your expertise and the knowledge about chocolate? You started just not knowing nothing, or you already had some sort of experience about chocolate?
First?
Actually, I was working at the UN, United Nations, in the gender equality and empowerment, women's empowerment. So actually, chocolate wasn't my thing. So I started like during my experience, like during my 5 years in El Salvador, and I've seen Juan Rafael and his father, Rafael Tregueros, working a lot in the cacao field. So really, I learned with them from the farmer sides, like from the farmer perspective. So it was really interesting, but actually I'm not, I started from zero, like learning things by my own and with them.
Same here. I had no experience transforming cacao beans into chocolate. Obviously, there was a little small lab, mainly for quality control, that the co-op had, but it was always crowded and I had other projects going on, so I never stepped into the lab. I just knew that there were some process, but I didn't really understand them. So yes, we had no experience at all. We just had this passion for cacao, the plant, and we're trying to figure something out.
How much is difficult to keep a good plantation of cacao? I think that we always in our podcast we talk about chocolate, and we don't talk so a lot about the cocoa. And I asked to you, you have your father that he has the plantation, and so what is the most difficult thing to keep a good quality with cocoa?
Great question. And I would have to say that, like any other business, the most difficult thing is for it to be productive. Because if there's no sales, if there's no cash flow coming, then things get stuck, things go slower. So from our opinion and our personal experience, we had the opportunity to start things from zero. We were a coffee plantation that we're diversifying to cacao. So we learned from people in South America and Mexico that we're doing really, really good work. And I say that if you didn't really start it off with a proper planning, it's going to be very difficult to maintain and sustain a cacao farm. And by this, I mean you at least need to have 880 plants per hectare in order to get a yield of 1 metric ton. If you're lucky, otherwise you don't have enough production to even satisfy a small order from a big customer. So you need to have proper planifications and then diligent, constant work. Unlike coffee, cacao doesn't need that many people working the land because coffee harvests all of it at one time. Like cacao, it sprouts periodically throughout the year, so easily you can handle 1 hectare with a team of 2 or 3 people. So you need lots of water, obviously, and good genetic materials that would produce, because otherwise you would be stuck with a cacao strain that it's beautiful, it's lovely, but at the end of the day will not give you enough production for you to sell your crops and make a living off of it.
Yeah. So we go inside to the Chocozone now. How and when did you start to make chocolate?
You start.
Well, it was 2000. The process
2018.
the process itself, it took about a year, I guess. We started slowly and steadily, and we didn't really want it to go all out for chocolate because we weren't ready by then. I mean, at the beginning, we were using what they use here for the grapes to make wine, to do our cacao nibs as a cracker and winnower until we got lucky, and then we were able to get the cracker winnower, and wow, that completely gave us a different production capacity that we never thought we could do, because initially we're doing everything by hand. So the process itself, it started in 2018, and then we finalized making chocolate by early 2019, obviously after many attempts of hand tempering and things going wrong. And I will not even tell you the first time we tried to fill up a stone melanger. It was January 2018. The stone melanger was completely cold. The cacao nibs were completely cold. We poured in the first 100 grams and it got stuck. The next 3 hours, we were there trying to figure out how to fill up the next 3 kilograms that we fill because we didn't know what we were doing. So
Yeah, we had the small.
Yeah, the tabletop manager. Yeah.
so
We
yeah,
were learning.
we're still learning. We're still learning, but we're
Still
trying
learning.
to find our way in doing things along the way.
Yeah.
The,
Mistake by mistake, I may say.
the Bintu Bar movement, as we already know, everybody knows, it started in US. Okay, it took some time to come to Europe, mainly in the northern Europe, then slowly went down. Now we can say that there is, some chocolate makers are also working in the Latin countries, the southern countries like Spain and Italy. Which is your feeling of the movement as overall? Do you understand how and where it's going, or do you have only a local vision? How is in Italy and nothing else? Which is your feeling about the movement as overall?
Well, it's a very complex question because there's lots of moving factors and different things happening. In Italy, I'm going to take this away from you, but
No, it's all
in
right.
Italy has a very rich culture in culinary arts. Don't even talk about food with an Italian because you're going to lose.
Yeah, you know that while we are having breakfast, we are already talking about what are we going to have for lunch, what are you going to have for dinner, during breakfast.
Exactly.
Esatto.
So chocolate, it's not an exception. You have different regions, for example, Piemonte and the Gianduia, El Modicano and Sicily. So there's lots of things happening, and the customers are very well. Um, yes, well, we do see lots of growth everywhere. And I believe that this growth really happened in the last years, mainly because there is now machinery accessible to small scale uh, individuals who would like to start playing around cacao and transforming the cacao beans into chocolate. Like when we started looking at machinery and they were just big and really industrial, and we couldn't even think to start affording them. So that limitation was back then. Now, in recent years, there's lots of options that you can get at really, really affordable prices, and this obviously helps people to chip into the bean to bar movement and culture and propose a different type of product by themselves. And we see this in Italy as well, even though Italy,
It's lower than Spain and France. We
Yeah.
feel that, but it's there. We have seen some companies, new companies, making bean to bar chocolates, but actually not that much compared to France or Spain, I guess. Yeah, Spain is the best comparison here. And maybe it's because, I don't know, maybe Italy is different from Spain and France. It's more difficult to start a company here, or people are not just amazed by the production of bean to bar chocolate, since everybody uses byproducts like bulk chocolates already made from someone else. So maybe it's easier for them to just use couverture instead of making everything from scratch. We understand that making chocolate from the bean is actually really hard, and you never stop learning. And wow, it's really challenging. So maybe it's for that reason, but hope that many more people will soon open more bean to bar factories in Italy.
Okay.
I don't know. This is my opinion.
And talking about your company, just introduce how you are located, what is your plan to which kind of product you want to develop, and when you started your business, because you are for different origins, did you made up some sort of plan to how to point out the peculiarity of your origin in your product? A mixture of Italian, South American, or something to make a different kind of chocolate? Or
Yeah.
it was just chocolate? I just want to produce chocolate.
Well, yes, actually, when we started our brand Vaicacao, we really wanted to bring the purest form of cacao, right? And we are really interested in the ancient Mesoamerican like cultures, and yeah, we really wanted to bring the history of Mesoamerica to Europe, to Italy in this case, and we have tried also to mix some of our chocolate bars with Sardinian ingredients, of course, with myrtle. Myrtle, I don't know if you, I'm sure you have
Yeah.
already.
Well, let's remember that Sardinia is an island,
It's an island, big island, yeah.
a big island.
A big, beautiful island.
It's a
It
beautiful
is.
island. But yes, we have tried to do some mixture there. We are actually preparing a new range of chocolates with new inclusions. So some are from Sardinia. So yes, actually we really like to bridge the gap between the country of origin and the market here. So the consumers here. So yes.
And how do you explain to your customers the difference between the chocolate they could find in the supermarkets and the chocolate that you make? And what is the reaction they have the first time when they try it?
Okay. One of the first things we always recommend is for them to read the ingredient list, because you cannot really compare an apple with lemons. You have to know what type of chocolate you're eating, how many ingredients has this chocolate been made from. And then the other thing we like to highlight is the difference in the cacao they use. Like we tell our customers usually, like, the comparison between wine and chocolate, for us, it's essential. Like, you see how many cacaos can have different flavors, just the same way that different wines can have different flavors because of the grapes. So it's the same thing. The terroir, the interaction of genetics, sun, soil, and local weather will give a uniqueness of the cacao towards the chocolate bar. So that's another thing. Another crucial aspect that we like to differentiate is the composition of the cacao solids, or the declared cacao percentage. Because right now, in a supermarket, you can find a chocolate bar which can declare 70% cacao, and that is a composition of cacao butter and cacao solids. So customers really needs to understand that in order to have an educated approach towards comparing one product with the other. Obviously, we've had lots of different reactions. Some of the reactions that we've had when people tried it at first, it's blissful because they were just like, wow, this is so vibrant.
I've never tasted this before.
I've never tasted chocolate like this before. And then we've also had people who prefer to have the regular vanilla and sugar coated chocolates that don't really appreciate bitterness. So we're okay with it. We know that we cannot satisfy everyone's needs, and we're focusing more towards the.
Well, and more than everything, it takes time. I mean, it's not just, just eat it and you like it.
Yeah, the problem is that we when we were children, we had chocolate from the supermarket. So we have this kind of education, and it is difficult to change. But when you explain to the people that chocolate is something that arrives from a fruit, that is the good start up to go in the right way.
How many cocoa beans are you using? How many different origins?
From El Salvador, we have like 4 different farms. We are so proud of it.
Yes.
We were doing like a direct trade expansion here from El Salvador to Sardinia. So, and then we also work with Fedecoveras in Guatemala.
Okay. Very big beans.
The beans.
Yeah, big beans, yes.
Big
Yeah.
beans, Trinitaria Cruyado with local genetics, and Nahua from Costa Rica, Juan Pablo Busher. And we have also worked with Honduras.
Yes,
Yeah.
we like to use the most El Salvador, mainly because it's very uncommon. Like, you cannot really find most of cacao beans from El Salvador anywhere unless you go and source them directly. And that's one of the differentiations we like to do, because our company, it's based in Sardinia and El Salvador. El Salvador, I say that with an accent. So we go and we buy directly from our family's farm. And since I was involved in a co-op of cacao producers, we have really good relationships with farmers across the whole region in Central America. And we go and we practically try to source the beans ourselves within our purchasing capacity. And we're probably one of the few chocolate makers or cacao makers that import half-empty containers, only because we really want to use those beans, and the farms don't really have the capacity to fill up a container. So it's a little compromise that we are doing in order to bring and promote the cacao beans and all the hard effort from the farms.
Okay. Which is your approach to the cocoa beans? I mean, do you want to use the same recipe for different origins in a way to, point out which are the feature of the origin? Or do you feel that any origin does have its own use, its own final product, because of the peculiarity of the taste, the bitterness, and things like that?
Absolutely, every cacao is unique. Personally,
every harvest, I mean,
every harvest is unique. I mean, if you're really going to handle each harvest year by year, this will change depending on the rain, depending on the sun, depending if the fermentation and drying protocols were done properly. I believe it's very, very difficult for us to have an exact same product taste the same with two different batches 2 years apart. I don't think we can do it, because we work with real directly traded and fresh inventory that naturally just tastes a little bit different. So we like cacao to speak for itself, and I guess that our challenge is to practically find the right sweetener to propose it to consumer markets that they will appreciate a high content of cacao with a low content of sweetener that doesn't necessarily has to be sugar. We have worked with coconut sugar, powdered dates, panela, organic sugar, barbabietola.
Beetroot.
We never spoke in our podcast. We never spoke about sugar because we are more interested in cacao. But can you just give some hints about the use of sugar? I mean, which kind of sugar is better with which kind of cacao bean?
For example, that's a really good question. I guess there's no right answer because everyone has different tastes. But what we try to do is, for example, if we have a cacao that has an acid profile, it could be like a floral acidity or a citric acidity, then we would think to use it with a sweetener that has a more round sweetener to it, instead of coconut sugar, for example, that also has a little acidity towards the coconut sweetener there. Unlike, for example, the beetroot, it's very round, that can really close with a nutty cacao or even a floral acidity cacao profile. But then again, there's so many other variations that could change from producer to producer of these sweeteners that it's just a matter of trying to sample them and find the right balance and promote it like that. Like, try to get the best of the cacao and the best of the sweetener and create a good recipe.
Yeah. Back about supermarket chocolate and the artisan chocolate. According to you, how the bean to bar movement of artisan chocolate makers could help the farmers for their future compared to the big chocolate companies?
Wow.
Well, you want to start with that one?
Yeah, I understand it's a big thing. It's not easy to source your cacao directly straight from the farm, and we know that it's kind of a messy logistics things. I mean, so many things you need to dominate. But the best thing to do for me is to go and visit them if you can, really see what they're doing, their needs, and to treat them like equals, not just oh my God, they're just from poor like third world countries or developed countries. So just treat them like equals and go and visit them. And this is my opinion.
Yes, well, the big chocolate companies have created a scenario which is unsustainable. I mean, I don't really want to get into it, but they have created a scenario which only generates exploitation, modern day slavery. There's lots of child labor, there's deforestation, and thankfully, the Bean to Bar movement has a different approach, but I still believe they can do more, mainly in the fact that, Eli said, instead of treating them as charity, instead of treating farmers as charity, like, oh, I'm going to go there and just give away food or do something, maybe start treating them as business partners, give them the opportunity to empower themselves and generate more value of their crops based on quality. And also, as Eddie said, visit them and understand what are the limitations and what's realistic or not. Because from a farmer's perspective, one thing that really upset me was that we would spend lots of time developing a fermentation protocol for a chocolate maker, and then they'll be like, I really like your cacao, but now I will need you to fill up a container. If not, I will not buy it. And we're talking that the reality of farmers is that not most of them have more than 3 hectares of land to farm cacao. So if they're lucky, they'll get around 1 metric ton per hectare. So imagine they would need about 15 years just to fill up that container. So I guess it's a compromise that there's something being done, but there's still more things that can be done, because there is the sustainability aspect to it, that if no one plants cacao, then who's going to make chocolate?
Yeah. Talking about the sales, the market. I mean, you can produce the best chocolate in the world, but if you cannot sell it, it's kind of useless, you know. So, how did you arrange your company sales? I mean, do you sell only locally, or do you sell also abroad? Do you use dealers, importer, exporters? Do you use e-commerce, web sales? How are your? Which is your sales structure now?
Well, since the beginning, we started really focused on consumer packaged goods. So when we started with online sales, and that has been very, very satisfying, because we have a worldwide reach towards final consumers. And not only, we get to create the relationship with business, the business relationship directly with customers.
Yeah.
So we get the feedback, we get all the things that they're asking, we are able to answer ourselves directly to them. So e-commerce has been really, really fundamental part, and still is, because being in Sardinia, you're inside the European Union, and sending an order to any country in Europe, it's just like mailing out without any limitations. On like being in El Salvador, I would have to make an export for a small package. It's not feasible. So e-commerce, it's very interesting, and we have always had the B2B approach towards our business as well, which is business to business, in which we would form interesting alliances with importers from the UK to Australia, Turkey, Lithuania, Spain. We have been lucky that we have been moving in different segments and haven't really been scared of taking our products outside of our production facilities, because we don't even have a point of purchase yet. So our intention has always been our products need to go out, and they need to reach the world and consumers. So that's something that maybe chocolate makers are not that keen on doing, because obviously you have temperature that could damage the product, and then there's lots of regulations and compliances that the packaging should have, and if you're going to enter into a different market, there's different rules. So it's challenging, but luckily we started off with the right intentions of doing things directly to consumers, and also with retailers, importers, distributors, and sales agents, which really help out.
Yeah, and what is your best-selling product? Can you tell something about it? Not the secrets, but what the customers love about it.
I would say cacao itself, because we started at the beginning with nibs, because back then we were only available to do nibs. Then gradually we have been transforming, because of the requests, we have been transforming the cacao into cacao mass, which is created with an intention to do ceremonial cacao for holistic and meditational uses. And that segment itself may be the one that we enjoy the most, because this segment is very aware not only of the quality of the cacao, but also the hard efforts that go into it. And then when we were ready to start making chocolate, we have always had the good problem that we're always out of stock. Everything that we make, it's practically gone. So little by little, we have been able to get more equipment to be more productive. And then we are now able to focus on chocolate. And that's also a very, very rewarding market, because chocolate, everyone loves it. So
Yeah. Talking about the technology, okay, you're using technology, I guess, in your process. How important is it? And do you feel there is a part of the process where technology is more important than other parts?
yes, want to help me with that?
One roasting is important, but also a good cracking window and
Stone grind.
the
Yeah.
stone grind.
Well,
Yeah, the stone
technology
grind
is
part.
crucial, obviously, not
Crucial.
only because it gives you more productivity, but it also allows you to work the cacao and create final products in a way that you can actually keep its volatile compounds that can be lost. For example, we opted for a stone grinder, which we know takes more time to produce the same thing as a ball mill refiner would produce, but we like the fact that it's slower, it's pure, and we can manage it for temperatures to be adequate to the process that we want. Going back to it, if machinery is used, has technology implemented adequately, it can really help out. Like the story I was telling you at the beginning, that we couldn't even get the small stone grinder to start because it was cold and the product was cold.
Yeah.
Now, if we have a little bit of hot air to help the machine start, that would help us a lot, not only in time, but also we would not force the machinery that much. And now with technology, it's awesome that we can have everything from the phone and track it, monitor it. We can go back home and go to sleep and see how things are doing, not only with a little camera, but also there's apps, and we see how machine manufacturers as yourselves are installing technology into the machine. So everything it's remote, everything it's online now, and we're absolutely amazed on how this is moving towards a way where it's easier and more user friendly for people who have to work with these machines.
Yeah. Well, we have quite finished, and like always, the last question is: how do you see your company in 2030, and how do you see the Bintu bar movement in Italy and in the world in the next 10 years?
Hopefully by 2030, we have been able to position Salvadorian cacao in the top of the mind of European and consumers in the US and worldwide, because right now, Salvadoran cacao is not very common. And in 30 years from now, and 10 years from now, the chocolate industry, I really hope that there's more information on
Who is doing
how
the process?
the cacao is being grown, who is sourcing it, how is it being transformed, and obviously everyone who's involved in the chain, the supply chain.
We hope so. Everybody hopes so. Well, everybody from this market. I mean, I would hope to find in supermarkets the craft chocolate. I mean, the Bintu bar chocolate more than I saw in Seattle a supermarket. It was Eloise full of Bintu bar bars. You know, It was amazing because it was quite expensive, but you know that your money worth something peculiar, something important, valuable.
Absolutely, it's like wine.
Exactly.
Sure.
Quality food. I mean, yes, should be at the supermarket, but nowadays at supermarket you can only find like €1 chocolates, and
That's all. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that
So-
younger
but
generations
yeah,
demand and they require
Exactly.
more whole foods. They
Mm.
really want to know where the food is coming from and what that food is doing to their bodies.
And they read more back the ingredients, and my generation does not know. Yeah.
and then the next generation it's a little bit both conscious.
Yeah.
Sure.
The food they're buying. So we are really, I think, will be in 10 years, maybe craft chocolate will be at the supermarkets in Italy too. Let's see.
We hope so.
We are there. We will push.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you
guys.
for your time.
Thank you.
for your
Thank you very
story.
much for the time.
Grazie mille.
Thanks everyone for listening.